This first update is one from last week, and unfortunately, a tragic story from last week. We mentioned it in the headline roundup up top. In Bridgeport, Connecticut, the fatal shooting of DYSHAN Best, who was a black man who was killed while running away from the police. Now, I mentioned this story and like the cops like video I do every week of the headlines, which is kind of this was the video series that was around before this podcast was, and it's funny. I always get the commenters trying to like poke holes in the thing. Yeah. And they'll always pick a story. They picked this story because apparently DYSHAN, who was running away, was carrying a gun while he was murdered, shot in the back. I included the story, even though he was carrying a gun, because, again, he was running away. And so commenters picked that story. And it's always hilarious to me that, you know, I always get accused of cherry picking by like picking these stories and putting them all together. And it's like, but then they will like cherry pick the stories and pick one. They'll pick one and be like, well, what about this? Yeah. It's like, okay, well, can you also address like the whole video of like child porn, sex abuse, child porn? And then they like pull up their glasses. They're like, actually, one of those men was carrying a gun. Checkmate on your video there. And well, to the person who made that comment, fuck the haters as usual. But also, we have an update that you might be interested in, apparently. This update is from Connecticut News 12. Quote, attorney Darnell Crossland announced plans Wednesday to sue the Bridgeport Police Department for $40 million, saying, quote, compelling new video evidence shows conclusively that DYSHAN Best did not have a gun when, end quote, when Bridgeport police officers shot him to death March 31st. On Friday, the Inspector General said a 9mm handgun was found next to the spot where Best fell after being shot. Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter said last week the evidence shows the fatal shooting was, quote, in line with the state's use of force policy. Quote, the shooting is consistent with what we're seeing across the country. Police officers shooting unarmed black men, Crossland said. DYSHAN had no gun, and so people are really getting close to questioning whether this gun was planted. So,
oh, damn.
Yeah. So there was a gun found on him that police, here's a gun. But now the attorney is saying that it wasn't actually on him. And, I looked at the body cam footage. It's hard to tell. He's saying it was like a vape cartridge that he was holding. In some instances, it looks more like a vape cartridge than a gun. I'm not here to make that decision. We're going to watch this whole thing unfold. I'm just saying that, maybe he didn't have a fucking gun. And again, I want to stress, not that it mattered. Running away from a cop should not be a death sentence. So that is a little update from last week. And next, we got an update from a story a few episodes ago.
I was just gonna say, between the vape and like a gun, we've seen also stories play out where like a white lady ran into a police department with a gun and was taken home.
Yep.
Safely. There's been plenty
they become complete de-escalation empaths when it comes to like a white person.
When the level of a measured response that is given when it's a white person, and like how every moment is calculated to protect them and their safety and making sure no one is harmed, versus the just unfiltered, we've entered war.
Exactly.
Every front open fire, whatever the protocol is that they choose.
Yeah.
You can't help but look and see like the differences, the discrimination in the.
When a white lady gets involved, they go from psychos to like indigo children, literally. Like telepathic powers of empathy, like an Alex Gray painting. Light beams shooting out of their heads into someone else.
Fucking start like, soft parenting. What's it called?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's like that's all. Whenever like I'm always these stories aren't us being like trying to just protect anybody who has a gun. It should not be brought to justice, or like the environment should be. We need people to make the environment safe. When there is someone who's going through whatever they're going through, and they are causing like whatever kind of disturbance to the community. We need people. We need peacekeepers. But if the peacekeepers come in and just completely bring more violence, it's just it's hard not to notice like.
That's a good way to put it. Peacekeeping versus whatever version of policing we got in this country, completely different things.
I don't want it to seem like it's like, when somebody has a gun, because that's what they love to do to us. They'd be like, he had a gun. And it's like, nigga, we're not saying you shouldn't stop somebody who has a gun. We're saying,
and it's always the person who has like the Second Amendment postered on their wall who are like, he had a gun though. It's like, I thought that was your favorite thing was having a gun.
Should he not be allowed to? Isn't that like the second thing the fucking founding fathers were like, that's our fucking rights. Number 2, guns. And so
I mean, yes, the men who owned people did have that amendment. So it all plays out and it all makes sense with the way we see it playing out.
It's just the cherry picking of when these police officers decide to just commit violence amongst the people they're arresting is it's always obvious who they use the overwhelming force on. So that's I just want to say that we don't just but we don't just like erase the gun out of our minds. We know that there's a gun, but we're just saying we've seen many protocols across the country, many instances where police are clearly able to bring in a shooter without shooting them or harming them.
But just to put a button on it, DYSHAN, first of all, was not brandishing it, waving it towards the cops. He was running away from them. He was shot in the back. Second of all, might have been a vape. Might have been a vape.